Tim, can I take your order? Get you coffee, tea, pastry.
Wow, I haven't seen that in a while.
What? I don't understand.
His place uniform.
Yes?
Hang on. You know we don't do his place anymore, right?
What?
Yeah, we've transitioned into a new show. We do nightlife. See, nightlife, nightlife, nightlife.
Transition? Transition?
Yeah.
I don't even like that word.
Have you had to deal with some transitions in your life? Well, hopefully you've dealt with them better than Corey is right now. Stay tuned. Help me to talk Corey off the ledge.
Transition. What does that even mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nightlife. Here's Kirk and Kellen Gilbert.
Living it up, laughing it up, while we're lifting them up. Tell your family and friends that the party never ends. 'Cause we're living it up, laughing it up, while we're lifting them up all night. Living it up, laughing it up, while we're lifting them up all night.
Hold on to your seat. This show is all about crazy times in your life. Your host of Nightlife, Tim Bergen.
All right, guys. Whew. Ladies and gentlemen, the talented and tasteful Sydney. Yeah. Listen, welcome to Nightlife, the best show on late night television. Tonight's theme is transition, and for Corey, we'll define transition. It is movement, passage, or change from one position, state, stage, subject, concept to another. It especially happens these days if you're in President Trump's White House or in his cabinet. I'm just kidding, I added that last part. We all go through transitions, changes. If we don't, we aren't growing. I mean, you transition through teenage hormones, or at least most of you do. You start a job, you either launch full force into a career or into family. You transition through various jobs. Most people, believe it or not, have 10 different jobs before the age of 40. As life changes, yeah, oftentimes so do our friendships. Hey guys, how many jobs have you had?
7.
7?
15 jobs.
15 jobs. And why in the world did we hire you? 15 jobs, you're gonna leave us. And how about Sydney?
I had 7 too.
7 jobs. Now, let me ask you, when it comes to things, do you like change or not?
I'm pretty flexible. I like things the way they are, so when I have to go through change, not really.
Doesn't feel that good. And Sydney, you like change?
I like the thought of change, but actually going through the change can be a little rough.
Well, you just got married, so you're
Right.
going through all kinds of changes.
Definitely am.
Some of us like change and transitions, but to be honest, most of us hate it. Regardless of how you feel about transitions and change, they're a fact of life. You already met Corey in the tease of the program, and he was that young man struggling for his identity on the His Place program. Well, God has brought him through some rather intense transitions, and is continuing to do so. Probably some of the things you've gone through or are going through. Today he's going to share his story with us, so stay right there. Guys, can you take us out to the break?
Every Friday and on Saturdays, I'll be watching Nightlife. Every single day, every word you say. Every Friday and on Saturday, I'll be watching Nightlife. Every breath you take, every move you make, every fight.
What's the hardest thing about transitioning from one thing to the next?
I think it's scary, if you're, is it gonna work? Are you gonna be successful? Is it gonna make you happy? That's scary. Usually it's rewarding. I mean, if you think about it a lot, and I think it's worth doing. I think you learn a lot about yourself and about other people, and I don't know, it's a good learning, rewarding experience. So it's scary, but worth doing usually.
I think, isn't it Aristotle that's quote was the only permanent thing is change, but yet nobody can seem to get used to it. And I think it has to do with the discomfort of the transition.
When it comes to transition, why do you think it's important for us to go through it, like to teach us these life lessons?
Because you'll never grow as a person. If you stay stagnant in one place in your life, you'll just be that same person. You need to grow, you need to experience things, and you need to just kind of roll with the punches. I mean, not everything goes well. I mean, I've had a rough life, but I've also brought a lot of rough things upon myself too. But you can't sit there and feel bad. You gotta adapt and mold and let things go. You gotta learn to just let it roll off. If something bad happens, get over it. You can't hold grudges. You gotta grow as a person. If not, you're gonna be that same guy that nobody's gonna like.
I don't know how many people really do like transitions, but we all go through them. We're all battling stuff. Sydney did a great job out on the street. You know, it's funny the way people think. We're afraid, but the way God takes us, he takes us from one thing to another, from glory to glory, from faith to faith, from mountaintop to valley, and that's life. Well, speaking of mountaintop to valley, faith to faith, glory to glory, you may remember my next guest as Marcus from the little show called His Place. But I want you to welcome my friend, actor, writer, creator, Corey Lankford. Corey, come on down, buddy.
Hey, what's up, Tim? It's
Good to see you. Good to see you, man.
You too. You too.
So, it's been a couple years since we did His Place.
Right.
And you've gone through a little bit of stuff.
A little bit. Should
Now-
be a book.
Now, it's one of those things where, you know, when people look at the lives of pastors, they look at the lives of people that are on television, on the radio, you know, basically, you know, I mean, you were a common name in a lot of neighborhoods. People look at us and think, we're all perfect. Life is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that way for you.
No, not at all. I think people idolize, you know, pastors and leaders because they want something to reach for. Mm-hmm. And many times they stop reaching for Christ, you know, and they start reaching for the person. And many pastors begin to struggle with taking that glory. Mm-hmm. And God says, you know, I share my glory with no man.
That's right.
And so that can corrupt a man. Even a great anointed vessel can be corrupted. And that's something that happened in my life. And
Now, did you feel like you had to set the bar high? I mean, you're a PK, pastor's, preacher's kid.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you know, you were working in ministry here and in other places. Did you feel like you had to set the bar high? You had to push yourself almost artificially?
Well, there's an expectation. Because when you I became a preacher at 15. Okay, I'm 30 now. So I was a sophomore in high school, and here I am laying hands on people, preaching to people. At that point, you know, you're learning yourself. I had no idea who I was, but at that point, you realize, well, I can't go get prayer. Congregants can't see me getting prayer. They'll say, well, what does Minister Corey need prayer for? He's the prayer. He doesn't need prayer. So I learned how to lie in a very charming, deceitfully way. It was an internal lie that I started, you know, patching myself up in the dark. You know, it was kind of like mending my own wounds and helping other people, but I'd leave limping. And when that goes on for years, you do become split and you become someone else. And that happened to me through ministry. Yeah.
How did you begin the recovery of that? How did you begin to go back to, you know, as the song says, the heart of worship, to the authentic Corey loving Jesus relationship?
Well, you know what? It takes a hurricane. It takes a hurricane. My life, my family's life, everything began to fall apart.
What happened?
Well, basically, I was always struggling throughout my ministry life. So I had ministry, but I had my private secret struggles. And so it was two different lives. It was the guy who was preaching and then the guy who was deceitfully doing something wrong. And I would just say, God, cover me in the blood, you know, forgive me, Lord, sorry about that, you know, that type of thing. And so I was dating and, you know, meeting different people and things like that. And I had met, you know, my wife, and she was phenomenal, beautiful, this and that. But God was really saying, there's things in your singleness that me and you need to deal with, but you haven't allowed that to happen. I was like, Lord, this is the one. This is the one, you know. And I didn't acknowledge him. You know, he says, acknowledge me in all your ways, I'll direct your path. I didn't ask him. There were things he's like, you know, this isn't good. So I went ahead and started dating. But that other me, that dark me, was still under there, still hiding, still being that person. And she had no idea. She just knew, oh, this great actor, rapper, all kinds of.
Did you think when you were going through this, did you think, you know, this is cool, I'm real, I've just got this dark place over here that I have to deal with?
Yeah, I had this justification. This is my struggle. It's not her struggle. So I had this, you know, this feeling of, you know, I'm protecting her from this other me, okay? But what I did was I sacrificed intimacy. And it's not just sexual intimacy, but the intimacy of your soul to a person to tell what you're going through. And so what happened as years passed, here I'm going through devastating things. I'm making very terrible personal decisions, and she had no idea. And so that dichotomy began to rip me apart, and subconsciously I was always guilty. I was always heavy. I was secretly depressed. I would be crying, and she wouldn't know why, because it was always on my mind, and I did not know how to get out without destroying her and destroying my life, destroying my image, destroying, you know, the public image of, you know, Corey Lankford,
minister,
all of that stuff. You know, my ministry, I was preaching all over the city, and young people. I said, you know, God, this doesn't fit. So I had two different decisions. I said, well, Lord, I could hide for the rest of my life, have some kids, you know, and just say, Lord, I'm taking it to the grave. Or the other is I surrender and I deal with the consequences that may come with this and use this as a pivotal step in ministry. Now, of course, number two was not what I wanted to do. You know, I got on that boat like Jonah and was like, I'm going the opposite direction. But my life began to fall apart. And I met a very, very wonderful counselor. And I sat in that room and he said, you need to tell the truth. Scariest words I ever heard. You know, I had stepped away from ministry because I knew God was bringing me to the light, but I did not know what was going to happen. And so that's when I turned myself in to my wife. And it was the hardest day of my life, most painful day of my life, because I didn't know what was going to happen. But since that time, it was like God was unveiling me and stripping me of all the false image, the pride, the deceit, and he was just shrouding me with his love and his grace, but also his justice. He had to let me know that there are consequences for what you do. I think people get this false doctrine to say, oh, God's just full of love and mercy and grace. We just love, he's such a loving God. God is also a God of justice, and I was doing wrong, and he wanted to save me, you know, so those consequences of taking that with that courage to do that has grown me as a man more than anything.
It's funny the way that we think that we can do things and God doesn't see. And that it's hidden. And when in reality, the things that we do in the dark that are our brokenness, that are pursuits, God really wants to bring those to the light, and he wants us to trust him, so that if there's fear, if there's lust, if there's greed, if there's senses of abandonment, if there's senses of brokenness, he wants us to bring them to him. And yet, I mean, not just ministers, not just leaders, Christians as a whole, we do that on a regular basis. We're like, oh, well, God doesn't, and God's saying, listen, bring it to me, bring it to me. And you have seen God there, and he's in a process of healing. Not totally healed, but you're in the process.
And that's some things that people don't really say. They say, well, I'm totally healed and happily ever after. No, there were consequences. You know, I did lose my wife. The good thing was God made me deal with it. He didn't let me run. I had to take it. I had to take it every day. I mean, it was like just standing there and getting hit. I had to take it. But God was saying, you need to remember this. You know, a lot of men, they run, they avoid responsibility. No, own your stuff. And through it, she was able to heal. She was able to forgive me. And she actually has more respect for me now than before. We have a good friendship. We can laugh, we can talk. But there are consequences. And there was more healing that I needed to do alone and deal with me, because, you know, there's a lot of other things going on in the rest of my family as well. But what I thought was the end of my ministry was actually the beginning.
Amen. It's when it's in the middle of the authentic is when, you know, God really really uses, and it's hard to get to that place. Yeah. But I think that's why the Apostle Paul said, I die daily. I think there was that need to recognize every day we pick up a little bit of stuff, and we got to kill it off the next day and say we got to start new. Well, you're gonna hang around and you're gonna play a game with us.
Absolutely.
So come to think of it, I'm not quite sure I want you to play this game because you got to be pretty transparent in it, and you're being very transparent with us today. I appreciate you doing that. There's healing that comes that way. Well, here's Sydney with the Night Scoop.
You know, like we've been saying all show, life is full of transitions. And let's be real, like we've been saying, change isn't easy sometimes. Well, one little girl has gone viral, telling the world how it really feels sometimes to experience a shift in your life. Take a look at Hot Mess Charlene.
Siri, please help me get my life together.
That may be beyond my abilities at the moment.
I can't get you a wedding present. What do you think I look like? Santa Claus? Oh, give me a break. You want to go to the gym together? Does it look like I want to ruin my day? Oh, no. I don't believe in the gym. It's just a whole bunch of sweaty humans running around listening to Despacito. I don't ship you guys. I mean, he's nice and all, but he just reminds me of spinach stuffed into a dirty sock. No offense. Don't expect too much from me, honey. I'm just who I am.
That was Ava Ryan, and she's just 7 years old, and she's behind the video, and she's been breaking the internet with her crazy and ridiculous skits.
I mean, I know some adults like that.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, though, is Mom like that when she acts like this?
Actually, so the people she actually had an interview, and she said she saw a woman on the street, and it inspired her to do the whole character. So.
It's hysterical.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Sydney. We appreciate that. And guys, what is the national news of the day?
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. Kellen, tell 'em. Today is National Noodle Day. And did you know that in Italy, the average person eats around 50 pounds of pasta per year? And here in the States, we only eat an average of 15 pounds of pasta per year. But we got to give a shout out to one of our favorite noodles. It's quick, easy, and delicious. Y'all know what it is.
Okay, today we're going to entertain you with a little game that we like to call Would You Rather? Well, what'll happen is I'll read a question. Each team will answer what they think their opponents will respond. And whoever answers the most correctly wins. Now, the grand prize is a His Place mug. Wow, yeah, it's because we've got tons of them in storage. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the ramen noodle guys. Come on over.
The champ is here. The champ is here.
You understood the rules. You know the rules. You're ready.
We're ready to go.
Okay, now, you guys are going to need to guess. I'm going to give them the first question, and you guys are going to guess. You ready? Okay, the question is, would you rather lose your memory or lose your vision? Would you rather? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What would you do at home if you had the choice? Those are really bad choices, though, aren't they? Okay, you guys are ready?
We're ready.
Okay, what are you guys guessing?
Memory. They're going to want to rather lose their memory.
Memory, that would be number one. What did you guess? Two! They want to keep, they want to make sure that they keep. Okay. Robin, does that mean they get a point? Because they were, okay, good. You guys get a point, 1 point. Okay, good deal. Okay, now you guys got to do the same thing. I'm going to give them a would you rather, and you guys are going to have to guess. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Would you rather have the theme song of your choice play wherever you walk, or have your own mood lighting wherever you are? Who comes up with these questions? Who's thinking these guys? So you guys have an answer? You get it ready? Okay, you guys, what do you think? Do you think that they would rather have this theme song of their choice play wherever they walk, or that they would rather have mood lighting wherever they are? What do you think?
I think it is number one.
You think it's number one, that they would rather have the theme song? Yeah, it is. 2 points. You guys are crushing it. Woo!
I mean, but Tim, who wouldn't want their own theme song? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm thinking too. I was thinking, yeah. Oh, some people's kids. Okay, you guys ready? You ready? Okay, here's the next question. Would you, okay, Corey, Kirk, would you rather be remembered for your accomplishments or for your acts of kindness? But not both, one or the other. Accomplishments or acts of kindness? What do you guys think? You know, it's tough. This is tough. This would be a tough one because you think, you know what? I want to be remembered for both. So, okay, where are we? Okay, you guys ready? What are you guys guessing? What do you think it's accomplishments or acts of kindness?
Accomplishments, number one.
That would be number one. What did you do?
Well, being...
Whoa, okay. Okay, we're moving on. Okay. Here we go, guys. Next, are you ready? Okay, now this is kind of not fair because you're already married, but I need you to think pre-marriage, okay? Would you rather go out on a blind date with someone whom you've never seen but have already had a great telephone conversation with, or with someone who you've never talked to but have seen a really attractive picture of? I don't know, guys. This is going to be tricky. What do you think? Come on, we've got to keep going. Okay, what do you think? What do you think? Okay, you guys got an answer? Okay, what do you think that they're going to answer? Either the blind date with the conversation or just a really attractive picture?
Definitely the picture.
The picture,
You know
number
what I
two.
mean?
Number two.
You guys are lying.
Yo, it's all about the heart, y'all. We're all about the heart on Nightlife, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not real.
He says it all the time.
Well, all that matters is what happens. Okay, come on, here we go. Next question. Okay. Would you rather have the ability to erase memories from your mind or the abilities to erase memories from someone else's mind? Which would you rather do? Very quickly, guys, very quickly. This is the last question. Yeah, this.
Okay, nice.
Tiebreaker? Okay, are you ready? Okay, you guys ready? What do you think? What do you think? Would they choose erasing memories from their own mind or the ability to erase memories from someone else's mind?
Tim, we're going with number one.
Their own mind. You want to forget, you believe they want to forget everything. What do you think?
Well, I don't want to forget the goodness of the Lord and all he's brought me through.
So he just wants to wipe everybody else out from remembering the goodness of the Lord. Okay, we get, these guys they win the prize. I know. The prize, his place, mug, and I know that you don't have any of those. So,
we got noodles.
well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this. It's funny what we all go through. I know every Sunday morning, people look around as they're sitting in church and they assume everyone is living a perfect life. Well, I've got news. No one is. We all have struggles, battles, and things that we're going through. A few Sundays ago in my church, a young woman stood up to share. She was just sharing an announcement about calling people to prayer and fasting. Well, she's normally very quiet. She's a very poised young woman, always well put together. And as she made her announcement about prayer and fasting, she said one of the reasons she felt so strongly was because her son had been killed in a drive-by shooting not long ago. See, people were caught off guard. They had no idea. But the thing about her is that her trust in the Lord, her belief that God had a plan despite the change in her life, was resolute. She accepted the transition from mom to losing her son by putting this loss into God's hands. See, regardless of the way the transition is happening in your life, whether it was something that you did or didn't do or something someone else caused in your life, God's word can be true for you. The plans that God has for you are for a hope and a future despite the place where you might be in right now. Truth is truth, and the truth is about what you're going through is that God still loves you. He is always faithful, and He is always good. Now, I know you're saying, Tim, you don't understand my situation. Well, maybe I don't, but I know what I've seen God do in my life. And He can do the same and more in yours. You have to make the choice now to trust Him. Start today by calling one of our friends. Ask them about how you can have God get you through your transition. 888-665-4483. God has a plan. He has a hope for you and your future. He knows you. He loves you. Allow him to show you that he does. Well, that's it for us. But I do hope we brought a little light into your night. From the whole team here at Nightlife, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Guys, take us out.
Sometimes you may feel different living this way, being a light, but it's okay. You'll be alright, in spite of being who you are, part of being who you are. Every day, hold your head high, don't be ashamed to live for Christ, 'cause there's a way that might seem right for the world, but not for you. Shine is what you gotta do. Stand out, stand alone. Be encouraged, you're not on your own. Be a light in the world. Let them see that you're living.